So let's have an example. Whether you can actually take this approach depends on how much resources you have available, how much time you have, how important the environment is. But in an ideal world, this is the approach you will take. You will evaluate all your SQLs. You will identify the SQLs that are or might be in trouble following an upgrade. One would hope that you would look at all your SQLs, it'll only be a tiny proportion of them that might have a problem. That's what one would hope. One would hope that most of them will be the same or better. But if you have the time, the motivation, the opportunity, you would identify the SQLs that you think could have problems or are definitely going to have problems. As an example, I'll simulate a case of an upgrade from release 11 to release 19. Remember, release 19 is just the terminal release of 12c. So we'll go through a case of an execution plan changing through that upgrade. Now, let's see my example. So in this window here, I've got a release 11 database, 11.204. And in this window here, I logged on to a 19c, 19.3 unpatched 19.3 database. Now, as an example, I'll just connect to a user called JW in release 11. And I'm going to create a table. Create table dept to select star from scott.dept to create a dept table, and then create a table based on the structure of emp. Insert some rows into it. So first off, I'm going to insert into dept, select star from scott.dept. There go the 4 rows. And then I'll insert into emp. Right, commit. Run a simple query. So I'll set auto trace trace only explain. And a very simple query, I shall select star from dept join emp using dept no. Well, how is release 11 going to do that? Right. Release 11 wants to do that with a hash join. Hash join using dept as the build table and emp as the probing table. Right. I'll actually run the statement rather than just auto trace it. So I'll just back come the 14 rows, hash join, dept to emp. Repeat the process in release 12. So what would happen in release 12 after the upgrade? Connect JW/JW. So, same process. Create my tables, insert the rows, and try running the statement. Well, set auto trace on, trace only explain. How does Oracle want to run the statement? Look at that. Exactly the same code, exactly the same code, no changes of any sort, but we've got a different execution plan. The join order has flipped. We are now using emp as the build table for hash join and dept as the probe table. Now, I'm sure you all know about tuning SQL, but in case any of you are not so familiar with tuning SQL at this level, the most critical decision the optimizer has to make is join order. If you get the join order wrong, your SQL has no chance of running well. Absolutely no chance. And the join order is flipped. This is the sort of the change that can cause disastrous results in performance. The reason it's happened, by the way, is due to a change in the way Oracle gathers statistics when you insert rows into tables with direct load between release 11 and release 12. That's just a by the by. It's something that should be an improvement. In this case, has caused a problem. In release 11, if you look at these estimates, Oracle has really no idea what's going on. And it's just made a complete guess about the join order, and it's got it right. It's applied heuristics, it's made the right decision. Release 12 and later is more intelligent. It's actually got an estimate there, which happens to be correct. But with partially correct information, it's made an appalling decision. So that's what's going on. So we've identified a problem SQL. What do we do to fix it? Right, we create a baseline in the old system, the 11G system, and we transfer it to the upgraded system. So to create the baseline, it's all done, by the way, with a package, DBMS SPM. It's a bit of a pig to use as DBMS SPM, but that is the API that I'm sure some of you will become very familiar with if you aren't familiar with it already. So first off, I need to capture this execution plan in release 11. That we do with DBMS SPM, and the packages and the procedure I'm going to use is load plans from, or function I should say, is load plans from cursor cache. There are all sorts of options here. You can see it's even overloaded there. There are any number of possibilities for this, for how you capture the plans. But one way or another, in your old system, before the upgrade, you capture the execution plan. Now it's a function that returns a binary integer. So I'll have to create a variable, and then I shall, before I do that, there's my plan hash value. The functions take a SQL ID and plan hash value. So I have to get the SQL ID for that statement. This is the sort of process you would go through. And so get the SQL ID for that execution plan, which does the hash join the way we want it. Set auto trace off. Right, there's the statement. There's the SQL ID. So I've got the plan hash value already, which was that there. To stick that into the function with this call here. Oops. Execute, my return value will go into DBMS SPM, load plans from cursor cache, that SQL ID, that plan. And that will create a baseline for the statement. And we can see it if we query the view, select plan name SQL text and DBA SQL plan baselines. There it is. And that's my baseline, SQL plan, so and so and such and such. And you can see just with one more query that that plan was a manual load because I did it by running that call there, and it's accepted for use. It's accepted for use. I now need to transfer that to release 19, because release 19, remember, is still using the wrong plan. Right. You have to go around the houses a bit to do that, but to begin with, there's this function call or procedure call here. DBMS SPM create STG tab baseline. This creates a table, and I'm calling it from 11. And that table is specifically designed for storing baselines. Then we have another call. Execute DBMS SPM pack STG tab baseline. And if you look at all the arguments, you'll see the pack So now using pack STG baseline, any number of other arguments. But in principle, the table into which I'm going to load the baseline, and then the name of the baseline I want in there. So that's this call here. I'm going to take that baseline I just captured, save it in that table. Now I've got to transfer it to release 19. So here's my upgraded database. Perhaps it's a test system at this stage, who knows. But in my release 19 database, the way I'm going to capture it, and there's nothing clever about this, so I'm just going to use data pump. So I'll create a database link called 211, and that logs on to my release 11 database, and then use data pump import to transfer the table across. So nothing special about this at all. IMPDP, just a network import. So I'm reading the table from 11 through the network link into my release 19 database. So perfectly standard use. It's just a table like any other. It just happens to be a table that contains baselines. And there we see the tables come in with its one row. Next step, I need to extract the baseline from the table. And that is done with the unpack function. Function unpack, which table do you want to get it from? Right, and again, it returns a number. So I shall unpack everything in that table with DBS SPM unpack STG tab baseline. That will have got the baseline into my release 19 database. And we should be able to see it at this point. For example, if I go to run a query here, select SQL text, plan name, origin accepted, and DBA SQL plan baselines. Oops, set auto trace off. Sorry about that. And there we see it's come across. There's the statement, there's the plan for it, manual load, accepted for use. What now happens when I run the code? Set auto trace on, explain, and just run it. Yippee! We've got the join order we want. Why? Because we use the baseline. So that's the hard way of doing it. We've identified a statement that went bad following upgrade. We created a baseline with the plan we wanted, transferred it to the upgraded database, and there you see the SQL is stabilized. It works, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. There's also, of course, the possibility that the new plan that got developed might actually be better than the old one. Let's see if there is a new plan in there. And if we look at it, look at that now. Going to DBA SQL plan baselines, there are now 2 baselines. That's the one that was manually loaded, but there's another one there, auto-captured. Interesting, isn't it? That will be the plan that was developed by the hard part in release 19. Automatically captured, but blocked from use. It's not accepted. We don't ever want it to be accepted because we know it's bad. But that would lead us on to the evolution process.
Hey, John, before I forget, just save us 10 minutes or so at the end. I've got a couple of questions I'd like to pose at the end in the queue already. Yeah, quick break, folks. Let John get a glass of water, take a quick sip of water. So this is Dave again. I just like to tell you about us, what we do at Skill Builders, and maybe you'll keep us in mind when you have a requirement. Of course, we offer Oracle database administration services, and that's either led or done by Oracle Certified Master John Watson, who's teaching us today. You know, we can provide slightly different variations of services, you know, for you. If you want to learn as a DBA, if you'd like to learn what you ask John to help you with, well, then we call that a mentoring engagement, and that's exactly what happens. John will work with you to come up with an action plan and work with you to apply that action plan, so you can see step by step how the project or task goes. This could be an assist with an upgrade of a database or anything, implementation of RAC, data guard, failover, all of that option stuff that Oracle has. Of course, if you simply want us to do it, to take it off your plate, we're happy to do that. Act as an extension of your team and coordinate the actions that John takes with your other teams, tasks, your other operations that are going on. So, and keep you fully in the loop and communicating with you as to where we are in the project. So those are services that we'd like to provide for you guys. If you have a requirement, perhaps you just want to get something done faster and learn how to do it, great. We can really help there, or we can take it completely from you and let you know what's happening, and of course magically it will happen and it'll all be good. So with that, keep us in mind. skillbuilders.com is our website, and I'll pass it back to John now. Thanks for the time.